There is a moment that comes once a year that most people let pass without understanding what it truly is. Not a holiday, not a celebration. A reset. A door that opens in the fabric of time itself. And if you know what the Torah actually teaches about this moment, and what to eat, on which days and why, you can walk through that door in a way that changes the entire course of the year ahead. Most people sit at the Rosh Hashanah table, eat a beautiful meal, say a few prayers, and go home. And then they wonder why the new year feels exactly like the old one. Today, I want to change that. My name is Rabbi Shlomo Katz. I was born in Tzfat, Safed, in northern Israel, the city where the Kabbalah was revealed to the world. I have spent 43 years studying the hidden dimension of food as it appears in Torah, Talmud, and Zohar. And today, I'm going to teach you something that was taught to me in my grandfather's kitchen on the eve of Rosh Hashanah when I was just a young boy, something I have carried with me for decades and never fully shared in a public teaching until now. What I am going to reveal is a practice built around one of the Shivat HaMinim, the 7 sacred foods of Israel, mentioned in Deuteronomy 8:8. 7 foods, 7 dimensions of divine blessing. Today, I am teaching one of them. And toward the end of this teaching, I will share the specific intention my grandfather whispered over this fruit on the 3rd day. The one he said was the most important of the 3, that I have only ever shared with my own family. Stay with me. I grew up in Tzfat, and if you have never been there, let me tell you, it's not like other places. The streets are made of ancient stone. The air smells like something between pine and prayer. My grandfather, Reb Yosef Katz, was a Kabbalist of the school of Tzfat, the tradition that flows directly from the Ari, Rabbi Isaac Luria, who revealed the inner mysteries of the Zohar in that same city 4 centuries ago. My grandfather was not a public teacher. He did not write books. He did not give lectures. He cooked. He prepared food with an intention so deliberate, so conscious, so spiritually precise, that sitting at his table felt different from sitting anywhere else. I used to watch his hands when he worked in the kitchen. There was nothing hurried about them. Every movement was purposeful. As a child, I did not understand what I was seeing. I only knew that I felt something when I ate what he prepared, something I could not name. It was not until I was older, deep into my years of study at the yeshiva of Tzfat, and later at Bar Ilan University, that I began to understand the system behind what his hands had always known. The Zohar teaches in Parashat Terumah that the world above and the world below mirror each other. What you do in the physical realm, with physical things with conscious intention and spiritual awareness, creates an opening in the spiritual realm. My grandfather had internalized this completely. He did not see food as fuel. He saw food as a frequency. And the fruit I am going to teach you about today was in his kitchen, the most carefully handled of all the fruits that appeared on his table during the days of awe. If you have ever felt that the new year arrives, and somehow the same patterns, the same difficulties, the same heaviness follows you into it, write the words Shivat HaMinim in the comments below. You are not alone. And what I am sharing today is for you. Here is what I want you to understand first, because without this, the practice I am going to give you will be just a nice ritual and nothing more. The modern world approaches a new year like a blank calendar. January 1st arrives, and people make resolutions. Maybe they write a list. Maybe they join a gym. And by February, most of those intentions have dissolved. Why? Because they are treating time as a container that resets itself automatically. But the Torah does not teach this. The Torah teaches that time is alive. Time has gates. Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year, is described in the Talmud in Tractate Rosh Hashanah as the day on which all the inhabitants of the world passed before the Holy One like sheep before a shepherd. This is not poetry. The sages are telling us that there is a real accounting, a real evaluation, and a real opening for what the coming year will carry. But here's what gets lost in the modern observance of this holiday. We treat it as a date, a ceremony, a dinner. We have forgotten that the ancient teachers understood Rosh Hashanah as a technology, a precise set of practices, including specific foods, eaten on specific days, that were designed to align your personal energy with the gates of blessing that are literally open during this window. The Talmud in Tractate Horayot, Chapter 3, discusses this explicitly. It records a teaching in the name of Abaye. A person should be accustomed, on Rosh Hashanah, to see and eat foods that are signs of blessing. The Hebrew word used is synonym, signs, not symbols, not metaphors, signs. The sages understood that eating a specific food with conscious intention on a specific day was not superstition. It was alignment. It was tuning your physical vessel to receive what was being made available at the spiritual level. The problem today is that most families observe one or two of the Simanim at most. They dip the apple in honey, which is beautiful and which I will speak about in a future teaching, but the full system of practice that was embedded in the 3-day window of Rosh Hashanah has been almost completely forgotten. The Rambam, Maimonides, in his Mishneh Torah, Hilchot Teshuvah, teaches that genuine renewal is not passive. It requires specific action, specific intention, and a willingness to do something different than you have done before. I ignored this for a period of my life in my late 40s when I had become very busy, very distracted, and I started cutting corners in my observance. I told myself I was too educated for folk practices, that the Simanim were for simpler generations. That year was one of the hardest of my adult life, financially, emotionally, in my health. It was my wife who reminded me. She said, "Shlomo, your grandfather did not skip the practices," and she was right. What I discovered when I returned to the full practice was this. It is not a collection of separate rituals. It is a system. A system built around the Shivat HaMinim, the 7 sacred foods of Israel. 7 foods that work together like a complete code of blessing. Today, I am opening one piece of that code for you. The fruit I am going to teach you about is the pomegranate, in Hebrew, rimon. And before you think, yes, I know about pomegranates on Rosh Hashanah, I want you to stay with me because what I am going to show you is not what most people know. The pomegranate is one of the Shivat HaMinim, the 7 sacred foods named in Deuteronomy 8:8, where the Torah describes the land of Israel as a land of wheat and barley, vines and fig trees, pomegranates, olive oil, and date honey. 7 foods. 7 dimensions of divine blessing encoded into the land itself. My grandfather said this verse was not a geographic description. It was a map, a spiritual map of how to live, how to eat, and how to receive. The pomegranate appears throughout sacred scripture with remarkable consistency. In the Song of Songs, Shir HaShirim, the beloved is compared to a pomegranate. The priests who served in the Beit HaMikdash, the holy temple in Jerusalem, wore pomegranates embroidered on the hem of their robes, alternating with bells, so that the sound and the symbol traveled together as they moved through the sacred space. The Talmud in Tractate Berachot, page 57, teaches that one who sees a pomegranate in a dream should anticipate that their mitzvot, their acts of connection and righteousness, are about to bear fruit. And the Zohar, in its commentary on Parashat Shelach, says this: just as the pomegranate contains 613 seeds, corresponding to the 613 mitzvot, so too, each Jewish soul contains within it all 613 sparks of divine light. The pomegranate is not just a fruit. In the language of Kabbalah, it is a map of the soul itself. This is one of the 7 sacred foods my grandfather called the divine blueprint of the Jewish kitchen. And it carries a dimension of power during the days of awe, specifically the first 3 days of the new year, that I do not believe has been fully taught outside of the Kabbalistic schools of Tzfat. Now I am going to give you the practice, not a general idea. The actual practice. 3 days. 3 distinct intentions. 3 ways of engaging with this one fruit that, according to the tradition I received from my grandfather, create a sequence of spiritual opening that can genuinely reset the course of your year. Let me teach you each day. The first day is Erev Rosh Hashanah, the eve before the new year begins, when the sun is still in the sky and the old year is closing. My grandfather would always do this before the holiday candles were lit, while the kitchen was still being prepared. He would take a whole pomegranate, not cut, not opened, and hold it between both hands. He would close his eyes and he would do a specific cheshbon and hanafesh, an accounting of the soul, not a judgment, not a condemnation, an honest recognition of where he had missed the mark in the year that was closing. The Talmud in Tractate Rosh Hashanah, page 11, teaches that the gates of teshuvah, of return, are never closed, but they are most open during this window. My grandfather believed that holding the pomegranate in this moment, feeling its weight, feeling the density of what is inside it, was a physical act of acknowledging the fullness of the year that was ending. Everything inside it, the seeds of what was good and the seeds of what was not. He would then set it in a place of honor at the center of the table. He would not open it yet. The second day is the first night of Rosh Hashanah itself, during the Seudat Mitzvah, the holiday meal. This is when the pomegranate is opened and eaten, and this is when the traditional blessing and the simon are recited. The custom, which appears in the literature of the Rishonim and is recorded in the Shulchan Arush, is to eat from the pomegranate and to say, Yehi Ratzon Milfanecha, Hashem Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu, Shenirbe Zachuyot Krimon. May it be your will, Lord our God, and God of our fathers, that our merits be as numerous as the seeds of the pomegranate. But my grandfather added something. After this prayer, he would eat 3 seeds, not a handful, not a spoonful. 3 seeds, deliberately, slowly, with his eyes partially closed. And he would say quietly in Aramaic, the language of the Zohar, a phrase I will share with you now. Ata hu elah detzalcha. You are the God of my image, the God who created me in the divine image and who sees the fullness of what I carry. He told me that the 3 seeds corresponded to the 3 dimensions of the soul that the Zohar describes: nefesh, ruach, neshama, the animal soul, the spirit, and the higher divine soul. To eat these 3 seeds with intention was to offer all 3 dimensions of your being to the new year. To say, I bring my whole self, not just my good parts, my whole self. The 3rd day is the 2nd day of Rosh Hashanah, and this is the day my grandfather said was the most important, and the one he only ever explained fully to his own family. He called it Yom HaChatima HaPenimit, the day of the inner seal. The outer world seals the decree of the new year on Yom Kippur. But my grandfather taught, drawing from a source in the Tanya, the foundational text of Chabad Chassidism, written by the Alter Rebbe, Rabbi Shneur Zalman of Liadi, that there is also an inner seal, a sealing of personal intention that the individual performs. And it is performed with the seeds of the pomegranate that were not eaten on the first night, He would take a small number of the remaining seeds. He always said the number did not matter, but the intention did. And he would hold them in the palm of his left hand. The left hand in Kabbalistic tradition corresponds to Gevura, strength, discernment, boundaries. He would then name quietly 3 things he intended to bring into the world in the year ahead. Not goals, not resolutions, not plans, intentions. The distinction he made was this: a goal is something you achieve. An intention is something you become. And then he would eat those seeds with the following awareness: I am planting these intentions into my body. My body is the earth. And what I plant in the earth of my body during these sacred days will grow in the year ahead. He would then take the empty pomegranate shell, the outer rind, and place it somewhere in the kitchen where it would stay for 7 days. Not as decoration, as a reminder. Every time he saw it during that week, he would remember what he had planted. After 7 days, he would bury it in the earth. Never throw it in the garbage, because even the vessel that held something sacred deserves to return to the earth with dignity. I want to tell you something personal here. In the years when I was living in the United States and trying to adapt to American life, there were several Rosh Hashanahs where I did this practice halfway. I ate the pomegranate at the holiday table. I said the traditional prayer, but I skipped the preparation on Erev Rosh Hashanah, and I skipped the intention planting on the second day. I told myself I was too tired, too busy, that the main thing, the prayer, the meal, the synagogue, was enough. And I noticed something over those years. Not catastrophe, nothing dramatic, but a kind of spiritual flatness in the year that followed. A sense that I was moving through the year rather than being carried by it. The difference, when I returned to the full 3-day practice, was not dramatic on the outside. It was interior, a quality of directedness, a sense that something had been set in motion that was larger than my own effort. The world right now, and I say this having watched closely, is asking something of us that easy living does not prepare us for. There is uncertainty in economies, in health, in the stability of things we thought were permanent. In these times, what the Kabbalists of Tzfat call da'at, deep inner knowing, the knowledge that cannot be taken from you, becomes not a luxury but a necessity. And it is precisely the practice of intentional living, of treating sacred time as real technology, that builds da'at in a person. My grandfather spent his entire life organizing these 7 teachings into a complete system. It took me decades to understand how deeply they connect. The pomegranate does not work alone. It works as part of something larger. And when you understand how all 7 of the Shivat HaMinim, the 7 sacred foods, function together across the sacred seasons of the Jewish year, what you have is not a collection of nice customs. You have a complete operating system for a blessed life. Let me leave you with what matters most from what I have taught today. The pomegranate, the rimon, is one of the Shivat HaMinim, one of the 7 sacred foods encoded into the land of Israel in Deuteronomy 8:8 and woven throughout Torah, Talmud, and Zohar as a carrier of divine blessing. The tradition teaches that during the 3-day window that opens with Erev Rosh Hashanah and closes at the end of the 2nd day of the new year, this fruit is not merely a simon, a symbol. It is an instrument. The first day, you hold it whole and account for the year that is closing. The 2nd day, you open it, recite the traditional prayer, and eat 3 seeds with the intention of offering all 3 dimensions of your soul to the year ahead. The 3rd day, you eat the remaining seeds as seeds of intention, naming what you are becoming, not just what you are doing, and you give the rind 7 days of presence in your kitchen before returning it to the earth. This is ancestral technology. It belongs to you. It has been carried through generations of people who understood that the physical and the spiritual are not separate, that what you eat, how you eat it, when you eat it, and with what awareness shapes the world you inhabit. Use this with gratitude. Use this with good intention. The tradition did not preserve this knowledge for display. It preserved it for use. And if you use it in the spirit in which it was given. Not to manipulate, not to shortcut, but to align. To open yourself honestly to the blessing that is already there, waiting for a vessel prepared enough to receive it. This principle becomes 10 times more powerful when practiced alongside the other 6 sacred foods. Because my grandfather did not teach the pomegranate in isolation. He taught it as one voice in a 7-voice harmony. In my next teaching, I will reveal another of the 7 sacred foods, one that my grandfather said was the most misunderstood food in all of Torah, a food that has been in your kitchen your entire life, and whose spiritual power you have almost certainly never been told. You will not want to miss it. If this teaching moved something in you, if it reminded you of something you did not know you already knew, please share it. Share it with someone whose new year needs a reset. Like this video so more people can find it. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell, because these teachings are released on a schedule, and I do not want you to miss what is coming. And write in the comments what you are planting this year. Write your intention, not your goal, your intention. I read everyone. Shabbat Shalom. Until next time.